ask you a question. Anybody in here, does anybody in here know what time it is? Morphin' time! I can't hear you. What time is it? Morphin' time! That's right. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? They got your man right here, Walter Jones, also known as Zack, the original Black Ranger. Yeah, we are here to celebrate and to acknowledge Boom, because they've created the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic books, and they're doing quite well. Has everybody checked them out yet? Yeah. Are you excited about it? Yeah. I'm excited about it too. I'm like, man, look at that. I like the artwork. I'm like, hey, that looks like a cuter version of me. I'm digging it. I'm like, all right, cool. So look, why don't we bring them out one at a time? We have, first and foremost, we have Kyle Higgins. He's the writer of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic. Give him a big hand. Kyle Higgins. That's me. Give it up for Kyle, y'all. Next, we're going to bring out the editor of the comic, Miss Dafna Pleban. Come on out, Dafna. Give it up, y'all. Yeah. Next, we have the assistant editor of the comic, Mr. Alex Gaylor. Alex. It's cool. And last but not least, we have Saban Brand's Director of Global Consumer Products, Mr. Jason Bischoff. Yeah, so we got our boom staff here. We got like our creators and our editors, and we got the people like making sure it gets out to the world, which is exciting. And thank you all for having me here. I'm like, I get glad to be here. Is your mic on? You guys, your mic? Check
yeah,
1, 2.
Yes.
Look, they have voices. I like it. That is so cool. All right, so I got a couple of questions I want to ask you guys because I'm a little curious. You guys are recreating the world that. Oh my God, what is that? I'm sorry, I had something on my forehead. I was like, I'm buzzing. I don't know. It's okay. I have a question I wanted to ask each of you guys. Who's your favorite Power Ranger from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? That should be an easy question to answer, I think. Let's see. Hey, what do you think, Kyle?
Well, the correct answer is that they're all fantastic in their own right.
I'm good with that.
Personally, and not just because we're going to hang out afterwards, I would have to probably go with Jason. It's one of the fun things about writing the book is that we've been able to kind of dive into a lot of the character stuff that the show didn't really get a chance to explore. And some of that is because of the model of the book really being designed for monthly serialized storytelling. And the show was a little bit more of kind of an episodic variety. So everyone, I spent a lot of time and a lot of energy to make sure that everyone kind of has a really unique, engaging kind of subplot that's going on for them. And it's kind of like teen book writing 101, but there's a reason for it, So the stuff coming up with Zack actually is really, really cool. I don't know. They're literally sitting on this panel with me so that I don't tell you guys all of the secrets. But no, there's some, I think we'll get into it a little bit, but it's pretty good, yeah.
Cool, I have stuff coming out with Zack. I'm excited about that. Is Angela in the comic? I just want to know.
How do you feel about Angela?
Angela's kind of cute. I don't know. It's 23 years later. I don't know if she's not. But we'll try to say. Well, how about you guys? Who's your favorite Power Rangers?
Again, the correct answer is all of them. But I have to say, every time Kyle had a story call, I'm like, can you beat up Billy a little bit more? Which is how I show my affection for characters. It's just see how sad we can make them. I'm the sad. He's the brightness. Alex, your turn.
Man, it's hard to choose. I will say when I was little, I would run around the house dressed as the Green Ranger all the time. We couldn't find the Green Ranger helmet, so we had the blue one, we painted it green. Not exactly accurate, but it was fun. I don't know, as getting older, looking back on the show, it's not that I think every Ranger is so great, it's also that, I do feel that, but Also, every episode you get these different highlights of the characters. So honestly, it's episode for episode. Like Slippery Shark, I love Jason in that. There's just like so many amazing characters, but at the end of the day, probably Bulk and Skull.
Oh, that's a cop-out answer.
Well, they are awesome. You gotta give it to Paul Schreier and Jason Nardi. They created some great characters on the show, and they are. It's great to see them in the comic book. Great to see them, doing their thing there as well. So I have another question for you. I was wondering, some of you guys were fans of the Power Rangers before you started working on it, before you came to the Power Ranger universe, and now you're being a big part of creating the universe. So how do you feel about that?
I'm going to jump in here real quick. What's crazy about this is I am all of 7 weeks into working at Spun, and the truthiness is I was not 7 weeks ago sitting in the audience. I would have been sitting in this audience if life hadn't directed me otherwise. I have been a lifelong Rangers fan, and that's not just like, oh yeah, I watched the original Mighty Morphin series and then kind of graduated out of it as I got into 11, 12 or whatever. No, I'm talking like I have legit watched every single season, every single episode since the inception. And sure, I've got my favorites, right? Like Mighty Morphin holds that tender place in my heart, but it's bonkers now being on the other side of that power coin. Like it's. Tell me I wasn't planning that one.
Please shift into
Oh yeah, thank you, Kyle. No, but it's legit crazy to be working with not only the ridiculously talented staff at Saban, but also working with just key creators, folks on this panel that are really pushing it forward in a cool and interesting way. Like, I bought issue 0 in December and thought it was exactly what I'd been waiting for years, right? And then with issue 1, it's just wild to be in-house and now kind of a part of the team. So I'm stoked to be here, and it's just cool to kind of be a part of that, pushing it forward again.
Well, we're glad to have you here, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a fan when I was about 8. I remember seeing the show debut, and I was probably, I would have been in like, I want to say like 2nd grade at the time, or 3rd grade. And it was a weird thing because it was super popular at school for like 6 months and then became super unpopular very fast just because I was on the tail end of kind of the initial age bracket. For whatever reason, like, or just the people I went to school with. But I kept watching it, and I was a big superhero fan, comic book fan growing up. And so I always kind of kept an eye on Power Rangers over the years, just kind of in passing. I would catch an episode here or there after the first season, and I would see where kind of certain characters ended up and where their storylines had taken them. And then I kind of fell out of it. And it wasn't until I started writing comics for a living that I would do conventions, and a lot of fans would come to conventions that were both comic fans and Power Ranger fans, and a lot of cosplayers as Rangers would come up to tables and stuff that I was doing signings at, and it was through their passion that I kind of re-sparked my interest in the Power Rangers. And one of my friends that I write with a lot, Alex Siegel's here, we share an office together, and there have been many nights before this book where he would see I would end up on like in a black hole of YouTube, like looking up old Power Rangers episodes and interviews just to see like how things resolved and where different storylines went. And so when the opportunity came up to pitch for the book and to go back and research the show, it really has been kind of my experience of I'm writing the book, I'm writing how I felt about Power Rangers when I was a kid. I'm not trying to write Power Rangers as it existed back then. It's more like I'm writing based on the feeling that I had watching it as a fan. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's kind of what I'm trying to bring to it. And so when we update the aesthetic and kind of the era, a lot of that comes from just stuff that I think is interesting, I think is cool, and everyone here has been super supportive and us pushing the ball forward. So far, it seems like you guys dig it. So
that's very exciting. I like it. What about you guys?
It was a show my younger brother really loved, and so it was something that we'd watch while I was babysitting him grudgingly. But in Israel, it was one of the few shows that were in English. We went to go visit family there, because my family's from Israel. We go every year for the holidays. And so it was like my one connection from home, because it was the only thing I could understand on the TV. And I remember my grandfather, who doesn't speak a lick of English, taking me to see the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie in theaters, dubbed in Hebrew. And I was like, no, you took the one thing I understood. But because the story is so clear, you know, it has that comic storytelling in which the visuals are very evocative, and they tell you as much of the story as the words. And you know, the other connection for me in Israel to home was comic books, and so it's really great to kind of bring both of them together. So this is really awesome.
Can you say it's morphin time in Hebrew?
No, what?
I was excited about it.
Also, I was reading them in English because I can't speak Hebrew very well.
Just not a chance you made it.
Yeah, I would. As soon as that first episode hit, David Dumpster, I was in, 100%. As a little kid, it was just everything I ever wanted, you know. People having fun, superheroes doing good, amazing monsters, amazing Zords, everything about it I was just in love with. So whenever I could get my parents to take me to Toys R Us to get the new toys, dress up as the new things, I'd even make them myself if I could. I had sketchbooks filled with it. I was obsessed. I loved it. The Rangers, the heroes. It was something I really identified with and loved. I fell off a bit after Turbo, though I still would watch occasionally, and I really liked the show.
Me too.
Yeah. But yeah, like these characters stay with me for so many years, and even to this day, and having the chance to be on the other side of it has been amazing, and honestly a very unique experience. Because now, you know, rewatching every episode from the point of like, okay, what's the canon of this episode, the continuity that I'm learning that I can really bring to the table and help out. So it's been an amazing, life-changing experience being Power Rangers, and yeah, love every day of it.
And for you, Walter, having been, you know, connected to the franchise for really since its inception, what is it, maybe you can talk a little bit about seeing how it's kind of come back in vogue as far as like, all of us that grew up on it are now in our, you know, late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
And you still look like a solid 21, 22. Like, you look great, dude.
I should take off my shirt.
Yeah.
I've been working out. I'm like, okay, trying to keep my Rangerness in there. I'm like, no, you know, I gotta say, it's bizarre. I mean, like, you know, the show came out 23 years ago. We did 1993 is when we did the pilot, and then it aired, and it's bizarre because I go everywhere I go. It doesn't matter what country. Somebody recognizes me pretty much daily and goes, yo, dude, I grew up with you. And I'm like, that's cool. You know, it's like there's so much love that we get from it. And the blessing of that is that, and how much goodness we are able to give back. Because if I just shake somebody's hand and it makes their day and they walk away like, yo. And that's so cool. And so, you know, it had its big thing. It happened and it's continued on. And now, in between video games and everything else, now the comic books is coming out, and the comic book, I understand, is a big hit. You guys have had to do reprints, and it's like it's been a big hit for Boom, correct?
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, we have to do all the reprints by hand ourselves, so that part is a little frustrating. But
You say that as a joke, but remember the retailer party kit? It was this retailer party kit that we offered. It was a variant. We thought we'd get maybe like 2,000, 3,000 orders. We had 34,000 orders, and the whole company, the entire company for a whole week packaged posters, comics, and stickers till our fingers bled.
Yeah, it was an assembly lineup until 10 p.m. every night for a few days.
And the part Dafna and Alex started telling you is that the stickers came in mixed order, so they had to sort 34,000 sets of stickers to get them into those retailer kits.
It was fun though.
I blocked that memory, Jason.
Well, so now that the comic book is coming back, it's a hit, like, so far. The comic book is out, and it's got all these cool covers, and I mean, I do a lot of Comic-Cons, and I meet a lot of fans, and the comic book has been coming up to me. I'm like, the Black Ranger cover, I'm like, yeah, let me sign up for you real quick, you know. So that's exciting for me, and the fact that it's being introduced to an entirely different generation as a successful comic book is very exciting to me. I'm excited about that. I mean, I have kids of my own, a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they'll be looking at the comic books, and it's kind of cool to be able to go, you want to meet my dad? You know, that's kind of really cool to me.
I think it's one of the testaments to the strength of the franchise and really the strength of Mighty Morphin. Like, at its core, it's always been a story about kind of the power and strength of friendship and teamwork, you know? And it has all of the great aspects of superhero storytelling, right? Like power and responsibility, like I said, power of teamwork, the weight of the world on your shoulders, but also the clique drama of high school, right? Like these are all aspects that make fantastic Spider-Man comics, right? But also fantastic Power Ranger stories. And so being able to kind of explore them in that light has been really awesome. And I think it's what hopefully is making, you know, the stuff resonate so far. And at least that's what we're trying to tap into.
Yeah.
You know, we've updated things here and there, but at its core, it's still kind of the Rangers and what makes them, you know, so great.
You know, one of the things I think that made the show so great is the fact that there was such a diverse group of people.
Yeah.
You know, so and there's many different character traits of all of us that we all had. I mean, all of it was generally positive, but we're very different people. And so I wonder, like, with you being a fan of Power Rangers, what characters are you excited about, like discovering and creating?
Well, I'll tell you the big one for me. The first thing I asked when we were designing the first arc was if I could use Scorpina as like the main villain. She was always someone that, like, she wasn't on the show that much. I remember she kind of came in the Green Ranger saga for the first time with like no real explanation for where she came from. And I always thought the design was great. I'm also a sucker for kind of like what I would call kind of secondary characters. Like, my favorite superheroes have always been, you know, like Nightwing, Scarlet Spider, Winter Soldier, like all of these characters that are like just like either a rung below or just offshoot characters, right? And so the idea of Scorpina, this deadly female, you know, assassin for Rita, henchman for Rita, that wasn't utilized that much was really interesting to me. Like, I thought there was a great opportunity to explore that, and then of course that begs the question. I don't know if anyone who's picked up issue 1 has noticed, but Goldar's not in it. So where is Goldar? What has happened to him? What's going on there? So really kind of diving into some of the villain stuff was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
But also the big thing is like the Rangers' lives. You know, like, this is kind of a generic answer to your question, I guess, but like being able to spend time with Tommy at home is my favorite stuff to write. Like, there's this scene that opens issue 2 between Billy and Trini that I won't spoil for you guys, but like that 3-page scene is my favorite scene that I've written in the book so far, and it's just 2 characters talking. You know, I mean, it's a little bit more than that, but being able to actually dive into these people is kind of that's the draw for me.
Yeah, I imagine you being a kid and you know, watching Power Rangers and having fantasies about, okay, these characters, and now you're an adult and you actually get to take that and...
Well, I said this in an interview recently, but I actually made fan films as a kid. Like, I started writing comics because of a film I directed in college, and I started directing because when I was 7 and Power Rangers was on the air, and also like the Donner Superman movie and Ninja Turtles, I thought it would be great to like shoot stuff myself, you know. So like I was making, like, we stacked 2 big blue Rubbermaid you know, trash cans that you would wheel out to the driveway on top of each other, and I drew a Zordon face with a Sharpie and didn't tell my dad, and so our trash cans permanently had this weird or half face on. But then we would shoot like all these little films, we make costumes, and then I do like stop motion to like bring like Zords together and things like that. And, yeah, so to get to play in this, you know, this sandbox it's a trip.
That's awesome. Hey, let me ask you, Alex, what has been the fan response to the comic book? I mean, how are they taking it?
It's been
incredible.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the return of like an old love. everyone's just so excited to be living in this world again, getting new stories, getting to dive in with all the characters. Like Kyle mentioned, like getting the chance to really see these relationships grow and what they're like just as people in high school and what they're like out of the classroom. Like
And out of uniform. I mean, he was talking about the Billy and Junie scene in issue 2 that you guys will see soon enough, but we have these kind of great scenes throughout the comics of characters who you normally don't get to see interact when they're not talking about, you know, fighting Rita. So we get to see them at school, we get to see them training, you get to see them be friends. And so, you know, we have...
But there are still fights. Like,
Yeah, don't worry. but sometimes they're fights of the heart.
And I want to know, does Zack do hip hop keto still?
he does, yeah. I haven't worked that in yet, but he does still do hip hop keto. But maybe now he'll do hip hop keto on the moon, or hip hop keto in the Mastodon. Like I'm kind of only half joking there because that's not a bad idea. But that's one of the perks of the book is like we're not constrained by budget. We're not constrained by the logistics of trying to do a live action show. Like we can take this concept and kind of to its furthest potential. I really want to tell you where the Billy Trini scene takes place because it's a great example of this, but like there are just so many set pieces that we can utilize, and that's a testament to Hendry Pisecha, who's the artist on the series, and Matt Herms, who's colors it. And this is a tough one. Like we're talking about these like interpersonal relationships and these character moments, but also this huge blockbuster action. And for an artist to be able to juggle and both of those things and walk, between those worlds is really, really tough. Like, I've worked with a lot of artists who are great, they're great action guys and girls, but they're not great at, and maybe they're not as great at character moments, or they're fantastic with character moments, but they can't do some of the big, larger-than-life stuff. Yeah. And we really are incredibly fortunate to found Hendry because he can do both.
Yeah. It was a long process because we knew the comic called for both. It would have been very easy for us to go to just an action person because it's 5 characters with swords and fighting monsters, but we felt that the emotional character moments were going to be just as important, and so it was like the American Idol. He's not American, but it was like the American Idol of an artist search, and Hendry really was the artist that stood head and shoulders because, as you can see, actually I think the page with them at school was one of the test pages, and I think the page with them, Morphin, was the other one. And so, as you can see, he tackles both great.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Because every person just stands and they have their own personality. He brings so much life to every scene. He just blows us away. Every time we get a new page, we just kind of freak out and pass around the office.
Look at them in the hallway, just like rolling down like the coolest clique you'll never be a part of. It's great.
They're like spokesman for Skittles.
or Gap clothing.
Or Gap clothing. Now, I have a question. So I understand that Boom has a Pink Power Ranger limited series coming out in May. Can you tell us something about that? Everybody loves the Pink Power Ranger, right? I get so many people go, the Pink Power Ranger. Like, man, she's hot.
So I'll kind of dive in here real quick because tell a brief story. I was in I was at Toy Fair for New York Toy Fair, right, just a couple weeks ago, and I was in the terminal waiting for my flight home, sitting directly across from William Shatner, as close as Dafna and I are sitting together right now, when I was checking Twitter, and I saw Mighty Morphin Pink miniseries pop in my Twitter feed, and I had no idea it was a thing, right? Because I was so new to the company, I had no idea it was a thing, and I freaked out, and I turned to Trina Smith, who's head of our product development team. She's sitting in the center there, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And she was passed out half asleep because she had the flu. But I couldn't believe it. I was just so overwhelmed that we would go there, right? That we would launch a miniseries, and I cannot tell you how excited I am for this series. I have to sort of be very careful about my words here, but.
William Shatner will be guest starring.
All right, Kyle, fine. We'll move the top over it. Yeah, but I will say that this series really ventures to do some really interesting stuff and play with the mythology. We were sitting on a conference call just a couple weeks ago, and we sort of reached an interesting mythology conundrum whereby how do we take this character forward based on the timeline of this particular book? How do we, again, carefully choosing my words here, how do we enable Kimberly to basically reclaim the power, right? And so it's this great call, and I won't tell you the answer to that question. It's this great call because we were jamming back and forth and just geeking out, right? We were kind of picking and choosing from different parts of the mythology through the years. What would make sense? How can we define the power in a certain way that we can utilize this item or that item? So that was just, again, really, really cool. The other piece of it is, I'm sure you've seen a wealth of the covers that are coming out for each particular issue, which again for me is just rad because it's great to see the IP translated through new artistic styles in ways that it's never been done before. And I can safely say that with Pink, there are some artists coming out that are going to be featured as cover artists for this book that, man, like they were on my wish list before I started, right? And without giving anything away, without saying a particular name, there's a person who works on a very pointy-eared book.
You're not subtle at all.
Oh my God. And like, I could not believe that we were able to acquire this person. And the things that this person is doing, just character moments, are super, super rad. So super excited for that. Check it out. Just 20 weeks.
Well, that's the best part about working with Saban. Like you mentioned the call, like we had a story we want to tell that the writer wants to tell. And then Saban's like opening their weapons chest and being like, well, what if you use this? Or what if you use that? So like imagine having access to the metaphorical quote-unquote props department of the entire Power Rangers series to tell a really emotional, affecting story.
Well, and that's what's really interesting about working on this collaboratively is the people that are overseeing the development of these stories with Kyle is actually, there's a person here at Saban, there's a person who actually wrote the Bible on Power Rangers. Like all 23 seasons thus far. It's in a hardbound book. It's beautiful.
Can I get a copy?
Yeah, I need one of those too.
It may be in PDF form. So, but she is actually working with Kyle and defining, like Dafna said, these artifact moments or these character moments. These are the best equipped people that could be that could really have their hands on this thing. So it's great to work together.
Cool. I was wondering. So I mean, you.
Some awesome Black Ranger covers.
What? See, that's the Black Ranger right there. See, it's the Black Ranger. Anyway, so
I want to know what that thing is on the main cover.
I know, huh?
Spoilers, Kyle.
It looks pretty gnarly. It looks like a squat or babu. Babu. The blue one. All right, so what is it about Power Rangers that makes it so important to you, especially now that you work at Saban now? Jason, what is it about it that's so important?
What isn't it about kind of being here at this place in time? I mean, the truthiness is again, I've been a lifelong Rangers fan, and Mighty Morphin definitely holds a staple place in my heart and has always done so since I first met it. For me, it's the mythology, right? There is just something so cool about this interconnected continuity of 23 seasons going on 24 next year that it's just neat that there are actual connective fibers between each season. We've revisited some of those themes before, and I don't know, it's rad to be here at this place in time because there's so much hype, there's so much excitement, especially with the dawn of the Lionsgate film next spring. There's just so much interest in the IP. And guys, if I could just sort of speak to it anecdotally, again, I was at Toy Fair just a few weeks ago, and we met with lots of different people, all sorts of new and different people that were hoping to do, really cool, neat, collectible, I mean, you name it, right? I must have met with maybe 34, 35 different groups in over the span of 5 days, and not one person said no. Everybody is just so excited about what's happening because of the film. It's just an all boats rise scenario.
Yeah.
Mighty Morphin is here again in a big, bad, meaningful way.
Yeah. And you're working with all these guys. I mean, it's like you guys were all fans, and you're all excited about it. So there's this kinetic energy between you. I mean, what is it like working with these guys? Well, boom.
I mean, it truly, there could not be better collaborators. I'm going to share something. I'm going to put Kyle on the spot here because he may or may not remember this, but about 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago, when Kyle was announced as the writer on the book, I was just a dude, right? I was a dude on Facebook, working at the time at Blizzard Entertainment, and a good buddy of mine who knew that I was a hardcore Rangers fan, I had come in and seen the figure arts in my office. He posted on my timeline, he tagged me and said, "Hey man, new series from Boom Comics," right? And my immediate response was, "Oh my god, I'm super excited, this is gonna be great." And then I wrote something like, "Kyle Higgins, I kind of liked his Nightwing stuff, but it really wasn't character deep enough for me, right? It really wasn't character deep enough for me. I'm seriously hoping he can give me a character story, right? Something like that." And Kyle, with his big brass balls, happened to somehow be a part of this thread and responded to it,
We have
right?
mutual friends.
Yeah, we had mutual friends.
I have never. Okay, yeah. No, that's not what I said.
And he was in a fun and snarky way said, "I've got this," right? And you know what? Super validated. Like, I am so desperately proud of this book, and I was proud of it as a fan when we went to issue 1, and that again is a testament to the creative team that's working on this on the boom end too, right? Dafna and Alex could not be bigger fan girls and boys of the property, nonetheless people that are creatively contributing in a meaningful way, and to have somebody like Kyle with the reins off, right, with a real chance to do some baller work. It's just it shows on the page, it reads in every single character. It's not only faithful, it's pushing it forward, and I'm honored to be a part of it in some way, and I'm honored to have these people with us.
Oh man, that is too. I can't believe you brought that up on the
Yes.
panel. I didn't. Oh wow.
I mean, I've got to say, like, the biggest part of this experience has been kind of, you know, me, Alex, and Kyle on the speakerphone. We check in with each other every single day, and like just listening to Kyle like build out the universe in front of you. It's like watching a hologram come to life. Like you get to see first the superstructure of the thing, then all the details get filled in, and you know, I can't say enough about what a joy it is to like bother Kyle and be like, tell me more. Like it's like having your like favorite writer like, hey, give me the next chapter. I mean, I say nice, sir.
Yeah, no, you are very pleasant about it. Yeah, it's it's just a really good experience. Like that's the best way to describe it. Is it's a really good experience, and sometimes on projects, you know, it's a chore to get a book done, and it really hasn't been on this, and that's really a testament to all these guys. And when I talk to Dafna and Alex and I have questions, like, it's a very trust-filled environment. So as a writer, like that's really that's the number one thing. Is like I like feeling that if I don't have the answer, it's okay. I don't have to worry about getting fired. You know, like because you're not, as a writer, you're not going to have the answer all the time. Like part of the process is figuring it out. You know. And I work best when I can talk through something a lot of times. And so like to be able to call them up and say like, okay, so I'm kind of stuck on this thing. I don't really know quite how to connect, but here's what I'm looking at. And to know that like we can have that conversation and you know, there'll be a lot of bad ideas thrown out on my part, on their part. Like that's
on my part a lot.
No. But to feel safe creatively where you can have those conversations and ultimately no one's judging each other about the ideas that are put on the table because it's all in service of arriving at a stronger story. And it's pretty great. It's not every comic experience is like that. So this has been really fun.
Well, speaking of which, like the stories, I understand that maybe you guys have something really special happening in episode 5.
Oh yeah.
Is that something you want to tell us about? You know, tell the audience.
Do we have that covered? Can we show that? Oh yeah, so this hasn't been shown yet.
Yeah.
This is the first place it's being shown.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a sneak peek at episode 5. Check it out.
How much can I say?
That looks like the Black Rangers getting in. I don't know.
So I'll give a broad answer, which is issue 5 is a way of bringing in new readers. It's a self-contained one-shot. It gives us a peek into the past of the story that we're telling and how Zack plays a huge part in it. And so we really get to tell the Zack-centric story. And really at the heart of why he is the Black Ranger and why he is a core member of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers team. This arose out of Kyle, like, you were really committed. I remember at the very beginning, like, I have this idea for Zack, and the fact that Saban not only let us pursue it even farther, but gave us the spotlight issue to go even deeper. We reveal something, and I'm not even gonna like give you parameters of what we reveal. It's just rad as heck.
Yeah.
I actually told Walter what it was on the way over. He was kind of like,
I was like, who?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, like, obviously we can't get into specifics, but we can say, like, if you look at the cover, there's something going on the cover. There's another character who's quite prominent, and I mean, yeah, Rita having her eye on Zack is definitely
A clue?
A clue. Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. I'm excited. I gotta say that I'm very excited to be here with you guys because you guys are creating this next phase of like what Power Rangers can be, or creating a whole different world with the comic book. Like you said, you're able to explore the stories more. It can be placed anywhere you want it. You're not confined by sets or by budget or time. It's like it comes from your imagination, whatever you want to choose to do with the characters and the adventures that we have and the relationships we have, and it's very exciting. I'm excited to read all the comic books and the artwork and all the comic book covers. I mean, like, there's been so many different covers. The package set for the comic book Zero,
Yeah.
all the Rangers, the helmets and the suits. That's so cool. I'm loving that. And then all the different artwork. It's pretty awesome. So I'm excited about it. How are you guys feeling about it? Are you loving it? So why don't we open up for questions to the audience and see if they have anything they want to say. If you have a question, raise your hand.
Do we have a mic?
Do we have a mic out there for the?
We do not.
We do not have a mic. So maybe you can stand and speak loudly. Okay. I'll start up front. How about you, sir?
Both for Kyle and for you, sir.
Okay.
Talking about the kind of pantheon of material and the Bible, the Power Rangers Bible, just for both of you guys, both on the new series, the comic series, and originally back in '93, how much have you guys looked at the original source material from Japan?
So the question is. Sorry, I just want to say so everyone's clear. So the question is, how much of an influence or how much of a look have we taken at like the Zerringer footage, like the original stuff from
and like how
Japan?
those characters, I mean, like you mentioned, Scorpina, her relationship with Goldar in the original was very different than the version we got. So does that play
Right.
in? Or did that play in?
Well, you know what? We actually didn't really see much of the Zoo Rangers when we were hired. So I was hired to be Zack. I didn't even know I was the Black Ranger until it was editing. I was like, oh, I'm the Black Ranger. Okay. It was like, actually, I fit on the costume, I put on the costume, I was like, I'm the Black Ranger, all right, cool. Put on my helmet, I was like, yeah, all right, I like this, I love the color. But we saw, I think after the episodes have been airing, this is in the first season, this is maybe a year after we had shot the pilot. They sat us in the room and said, oh yeah, here's some of the Zoo Ranger footage from the original show in Japan. And we were like, oh, okay, that's where it came from. That's how it came. So we just kind of did our own thing, really, trying to maintain style, as far as the footage and the Japanese footage was used as well. But it was the stories and everything was altogether different. I mean, it was like the American version, and I understand Zoo Rangers was a lot darker.
I haven't seen much of it, to be totally honest. It's something that doesn't really apply to what we're doing here. Having said that, recently I did look up a couple clips, and I came across like the original Red Ranger, Green Ranger fight, like at the finale of what would have in the U.S. was the Green Evil saga. I don't know where that slotted into the original show, but watching that as its own contained sequence was pretty awesome. Like it's definitely something I want to go when I have time go kind of dive into. But I actually think I would really like it.
real quick, before you go anywhere, you come real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, do we have a...
Just a small thank you for asking questions. Yeah. You bet. Thank you.
Nice.
So who else has a question?
That's cool. Let's see the next question. How about you in the red jacket?
Hey, go Kaiju. That's awesome. Captain Marvelous.
I really love Zack and Trini as characters, and I felt like they never got the proper conclusion in the TV series. In the comic series, will we see more, obviously Zack-centric episodes, but will we see more like Trini-centric storylines?
Can I answer this one, please?
Yes, please.
Tune into Pink. That's all I'm going to say. Tune into the Pink miniseries. You'll find out some more.
You also have...
Yeah, in my series, definitely as well. We've got, like I said, everyone kind of has their own storyline, and they're all very interwoven. But the moments between Rangers and the dynamics between each person, it's like it's any normal group of friends, right? Like the dynamic that you have in a group of 4 people, like the dynamic between 1 and 2 is their own thing. The dynamic between 1 and 4 is its own thing. 2 and 3 are going to have their own kind of, storyline friendships, and then the group as a whole is made up of those people. So like exploring those interpersonal relationships is what the book is. So like I've mentioned a couple times, like there's a Billy Trini bit in the opening of issue 2 that carries through into issue 3. There's some stuff with Zack coming up into and really in issue 3 that's then tees up into issue 5. So the long answer to your question is yes. There's a big focus on Trini and on Zack and on Billy and Kim.
And there's a great Trini Tommy scene coming up in issue 3 that
Yeah.
I really love. It's Trini. In the process of this, we become falling in love with characters in different ways, and Trini has really kind of stepped up to the fore in a big way.
Trini's been actually one of my, I don't know if I'd say my favorite, because it kind of changes issue to issue depending on who the spotlight is on in that issue, like subplot wise. But the stuff in issue 3 with Trini, and we learn some things about her family and some of her history and what she's kind of looking for in her life going forward. That it was a lot of fun to explore, and how that relates to Tommy in the scene that they have together. I think it's pretty cool. And I think you might dig. I hope you did.
Hey, Marvelous, would you come here, please? I have like the perfect gift for you, dude. Have some Ranger keys on us. You bet.
Let's get a question from over here. How about you, sir?
So obviously everything's really young with the comics and everything, and I see that Rita is pretty predominant as the villain, as she should be. Is there anything already set up for, say, Zed or Ivan Ooze? Or anything more as opposed to just the conflict between the Rangers and Rita instead of being parallel?
Right. Well, I like Zed a lot, so I would love to play with Zed a bit. That sounds really weird to say, like he's a cat toy or something. Yeah, there's nothing in the immediate future. I'm pretty mapped out, like plot-wise, for the next year, really. But that's definitely a possibility in the future.
Let's take another question. How about you? Glasses, yes.
So how is it like being a Power Ranger in the scene for you and for all you? What was the outlook for it?
How was it like being? I'm sorry. Repeat that.
How was it being a Ranger in the whatever?
The show.
In the show, the TV series.
And what was the outlook for it?
Oh, what was the outlook of the show?
The outlook of the show. Yeah, the question is, how was it being a Power Ranger on the series, and what was the outlook of the show? I would say that the overall thing about Power Rangers is positivity. I mean, it's good against evil. One of the great things about the show is it always had a positive message for the kids that were growing up. It was like teamwork, don't pollute, save the earth. It was about don't be a bully, that kind of stuff. Like there was always something there that was positive, and overall, it's just an amazing feeling to be part of something that really does make the world a better place in a way. I mean, you start with the kids, And I think we've all tried to live up to that, and I'm sure the comic book will continue to do that.